Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for another episode of the Ladies Leadership Coalition podcast. As you hopefully know, this is a podcast by women business leaders for business women leaders. And I am super excited to have my special guest, Ingrid Brown, here with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I deeply appreciate it. When I saw you asked me to do it, I was like, yes, I've watched and listened and heard all about you. And I'm like, I want to be a part of this. So thank
Well,
you.
I'm a big LinkedIn fan, so I'm super excited to spend some time with you and talk with you some more and bring some of your story and experience to our listeners. So, for everybody joining us today, it's Driver Appreciation Week, and as you know, a lot of the ladies in the coalition are tied to logistics. Some of us directly, managing and operating 3PLs, and others kind of supporting the industry and operations in other ways, whether it be marketing, recruiting, mentoring, and whatnot. So we're excited to celebrate Driver Appreciation Week. And when we're thinking about this show, it's like there's nobody we'd rather have than Ingrid. So thank you again for being here. Let me tell everybody a little bit more about you if they're not familiar. So Ingrid is from Boone, North Carolina. She's been a professional truck driver for 42 years and has nearly 5 million safe driving miles. She is a solely owned and operated woman owned and operated trucking company. She is currently the host of America on 18 Wheels for Freightwaves and contributes to backthetruckup.com. She works directly with the FMCSA in DC to keep our roads safe. And in 2019, she was chosen as FMCSA's CMV Voice of Safety for our roads, which is essentially their safety campaign. In 2015, she was selected on NASTC's America's Road Team and also earned Woman Driver of the Year. In 2018, now this is cool. In 2018, um, she was the TA Petro Citizen Driver Honoree. And so I want to hear more about this. There is a Petro in Oklahoma City that's been rebranded as the Ingrid R. Brown OKC Petro. So that's exciting. Um, Loves to mentor and educate women, and really I think you want women to know that there's a place for them out here in this industry. So that's a lot. That's a huge bio. You've got an amazing career. Did I miss anything there?
We're good with what you have.
All right, all
We're great with what you have.
right. So
It's been an amazing career. I will say that.
yeah, well, I know, like, I started my career with an asset-based company, and there's definitely clearly less women, drivers than men, but every woman driver I have met just has some sort of tenacity about them, which is, it's so fun. They are really just the funnest group of people. The men are okay too, but the women are very tenacious, very fun. So, it's Driver Appreciation Week, and very connected in logistics. There's so many, pieces of this puzzle, right? To get everything to point A, from point A to point B, it really takes a lot. And it takes in front of the scenes as you are, it takes behind the scenes as I am, it takes factoring companies, it takes everybody in between. So I just, I want to make sure we hit this out of the gates, because what does driver appreciation really look like to the drivers? So, how can the shippers support you? How can the brokers support you? The factoring companies, anybody in between? What we have our ideas, but what really, how can we really show that appreciation to the drivers, not just this week, but on a day to day basis?
The biggest thing that you can do is exactly what this week states, is be appreciative. In other words, tell somebody thank you. Tell somebody, I really appreciate that you got you got here. I mean, because in this day and time, how many loads are late or whatever, and we can leave the negativity out because there's always a positive in every negative. And that's the thing. Appreciate by grabbing those positives. Appreciate by the simple things. You don't have to go out of your way. You don't have to, think about it. We really, even as simple as take your cannot use our restroom signs down. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
simple little things to acknowledge the fact that we mean as much to you as you mean to us, because it takes all of us to get the job done. So simple things that are 365 days out of the year, 24/7 as freight moves, is just say, hey, thanks. You know, lend a hand of, you know, it's going to sound crazy. I mean, Liz, you're going to think
No,
I'm nuts, but,
no.
you know, lay a pen on the counter that we could take with us. You
Yeah.
know, lay a, give us simple things that, if we walk away with it, we're not going to get our head bit off. But leave a pen on the counter when we sign in, that you say, hey, just take that with you.
Hmm.
As little and simple as that is, that means a lot to us, because you know what? We probably left one somewhere else, and who can't do without a pen because we get fussed at for not having one. So just little simple things, but just being thankful and saying, we do understand. We do slow down long enough to know what your sacrifices are. We understand what your day may be, or what tied you up to get here, and weather, and all these things are great. But honestly, just acknowledgement of that appreciation.
Yeah. So when you're going into, say, a new shipper or receiver, can you tell pretty well out of the gates how friendly they're going to be? Just these things, the restrooms. I mean, I would imagine if it's 100 degrees out, even a cooler of bottles of water would go a long way.
Yeah.
And to your point, restrooms, and just, I mean, do you kind of get that feeling right away if, say, a shipper is going to be driver friendly or not?
Oh, absolutely. You can start off if they have a guard at the gate. But at the same time, you don't want to judge off of one person what the facility is going to be. It doesn't mean, because you know what? I have bad days too. I may have something may have happened, and somebody may have cut me off when I was turning into the facility, and I'm like that mode
Yeah.
for that split second. It doesn't mean I'm taking that personally against you. But on the personally side of a shipper or receiver, um, you get that feel of whether they are glad to see you because the piece of iron that's sitting outside brought what they needed, or they appreciate you brought that piece of iron with what they needed. So that may be complicated in statement, but it honestly is really simple. You can tell whether they really are driver friendly and people friendly, or whether just give me my freight and get out of here.
Right.
You know,
Are they
that's
listening to
it.
you as a person or a piece of equipment?
Yep,
That's,
that's it. No,
yeah.
I'm either Ingrid or I'm a piece of iron. I mean, that's it exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you pick up on that pretty quickly. So, this is a selfish question here, but I own and operate a freight brokerage. I don't know if you know, but our specialty is kind of flatbed, heavy haul space. So if I wanted to just get it straight from the horse's mouth and tell my people, you know, how can a broker be driver friendly? What makes working with a broker easy for you? And is it ease of use? Is it, strictly lanes and price? Does it have to be a personality fit? And if we can be driver friendly, can that be a competitive advantage for us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's the very first thing of that, and I call it bridging the gap, because of that huge severance between brokers and drivers, is I always say, and I've been to brokerage school. I've done the brokerage. I've literally done the whole back office by myself to run my own company. I don't have anybody that does anything when I'm running my own company. So I have some of this, but here's the thing. It's so simple. I just want to scream it from the rooftops, is put yourself in my shoes. And that means if you've got to call me at a certain time of day or night and you have tracking on me, look at tracking and see where I am in my hours and how long I've been sitting where I'm at. which means if I've been sitting there for an hour, I'm probably asleep.
Mhm.
So the respect and thinking about yourself. Oh, do I want somebody calling and waking me up at night when I'm asleep? Or sitting and taking the time. And even though sometimes we don't we talk a whole lot because we're by ourselves and we take your time, but to stop and listen. Why? Okay, asking me why I'm late to a delivery can go two ways. It can go in a way that you're listening to understand, or it can go in a way that you're reprimanding me. And so going the way of a positive and going in a way that's not any type of way of reprimanding or degrading or stuff like that. And it happens. You
Mhm.
know, we find that and you hear it. I'm sure you've watched it and heard it, but honestly, the whole thing is put yourself in our shoes. You
Mhm.
get caught up going home from work.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you get aggravated and agitated. And the thing is when we may come back like that at you, we don't mean that personal. It's that we're in that same situation you are while you are trying to go pick up your kids and you're running late because of something. These
Right.
things happen. So put yourself in our shoes. But at the same time, we have to be respectful and put ourselves in your shoes and understand that. The competitive edge, money is one thing, lanes are great things, timing is one thing, how you follow up of missed appointments because of a wreck or weather or whatever, and how you handle those are huge.
Mhm.
You know what the accessorial charges, but the biggest thing of all is you having that time to literally let's work through problems together rather than a broker coming at me and saying, hey, this is my load, I'm in charge, and this is how it's going to be.
Right.
And so honestly, is the personal connection is going to get you there every single time, and it's going to get you repetitive back with that carrier. It's going to give you that carrier that's going to commit to pull and haul for you. And
Yeah.
that's been my biggest part of being independent is I've chosen brokers who were asset-based carriers to be literally a dedicated independent carrier for them and
Mhm.
haul nothing but their freight
Mhm.
because they provided every single one of these things I'm talking
Right. And if they have both, not many companies are going to scale to you have your Schneider and you have some, and JB Hunt and that have done it, but most that do both don't scale both equally in that. So I'm sure from your perspective, working with a broker that knows the asset side, you probably just innately are going to get some more of that appreciation and that because they have the same struggle with their trucks and with their drivers and certainly I can say without a doubt there's a lot of brokers even within my organization that don't know enough about the truckers struggle. And one thing I've seen too is it's like easy on this side of the house to be very optimistic. So just for an example, if I see in there, a broker says, oh, this load picked up at noon today and it's 750 miles and it's going to deliver at 8 a.m. It's like, you're not going to call that guy at 8 a.m. chewing his butt for not being there because your foresight and what you know about the industry and what you know about hours of service and what you know about the metropolitan area they had to run through, even if, because don't get me wrong, drivers will book loads when you say, and it delivers at 8 a.m. and they will say, yep, 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 yep. That happens too. And so I'll tell my people, yes, but, knowing this business, you should have the foresight to know, like, first of all, that's impossible with hours of service. First of all, second of all, even say if it was 400 miles by 8 a.m. Okay, now it's doable, but now we need to take it to that next layer of, are they going to hit any traffic jams? Where will they be at 7 a.m. when that interstate fills up? And, so there's even, but I do find that, with brokers that don't know much about the driver's struggle, they can be, and I don't think it's necessarily like bad intentions, but they can kind of
Right.
be overly optimistic about what's actually going to get done overnight. And then in the morning, it's like, well, what do you mean you're not there? And it's like, well, you know, I would have bet $1 million yesterday they weren't going to be there at 8 a.m. And so is it their fault, or can we do a better job communicating on the front side expectations and realistic plans with each other?
The communication with that has to go both ways.
Yes.
The education has to be there on both sides. If I tell you that, yes, I can make it, um, and it's that tight, there's a reason I told you that. There's a reason that either I need to get my truck to that location because I have something to reload within a time frame and I'm really pushing myself to do it, or a fact that I want to come back and haul for you again.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to even cross the line that you're going to take this load from me because I got bills to pay, and if I don't take this load, I may not find anything else. So doing that and hoping and praying and going, okay, good Lord, I can do 750 in 11 hours if I run 75 mile an hour, and
The whole
you know
time.
what I'm saying.
No
So
fuel stop,
the
no resting
right,
breaks.
exactly. A full straight 11. But it goes back to that communication that we as drivers have to give that respect of communication as well.
Yes.
We also understand, but we don't follow through with our side of the understanding. There's new agents and brokers in this industry that don't have this educational hours of service. And we should pick that side up and say, hey, 7:50 by 8 in the morning is what you're wanting. And let's look at this.
Right.
So it falls both sides. If we can't work together on it, and there's one telling the other, one or the other is going to be mad. One or the other is going to be disappointed, and one or the other is not going to get loaded or give a load again. I mean, that's just it.
Yeah, and we're gonna upset the shippers and the receivers and the customers, which ultimately we all need. But
Yes.
certainly because yeah, and in that case, if a driver's like, hey, nobody's getting it there at 8 a.m. I can be there at noon. Let's talk this through, because we'll get both. We'll get that. Well, we'll get the full spectrum from nope, I can't be there, and they'll hang up now because they can't meet the parameters. But maybe it's too late for us to meet the parameters at all, and they could have offered that noon delivery. Or we'll have the other end of the spectrum where, like I said, yep, we can do it. You know,
We're
um,
all guilty of it. If
we'll
you're a
do, we'll
driver,
deal we'll deal
we're
with this guy
guilty.
in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have those in the middle where it's like, let's just talk about this. What's realistic for everybody? They say a good negotiation, nobody leaves totally happy, right? So does that mean it's good on the front side when we can't do 8 a.m., but we can do noon and and it's like, at least there's some consistency. At least everybody comes in at 8 a.m. under the same premise and trying to climb the same mountain.
Yes, yes. And I'm that optimistic one that negotiations means that everybody comes out with not just knowing what the end result's going to be, but everybody comes out somewhat happy. I
Yeah,
mean,
whole
you're
and on the
happy,
same page
and
and
yeah, I mean, as long as we know what's going on ahead,
right.
we're all happy,
And I
and
think
it
we all
takes that
know
relief off.
that's all the shippers and receivers want from us too. Like if they've been on the job for any period of time, they know the challenges out here,
Yes,
and
yes.
so letting them know 6 hours ahead of time definitely can save everybody than giving them 10 minutes or whatever, and now their whole day is shot because they couldn't plan around this or whatever.
You run into, Liz, we've got shippers and receivers of understanding, like you're saying. Uh, they know. I mean, just like if they're going to run out of product for production, they knew ahead of time, so they know that it was literally their problem and situation to start with.
Right.
So they're going to have to deal with how they're going to get, you know, reinforced on this. So they're going to have to work with us. So on their side, yeah, they're ones that know exactly how this works.
Yep.
I found more shippers and receivers that know hours of service
Mhm.
than a lot of brokers. A lot. I mean, they know exactly what's going on,
And you
and
know
that's
what?
great.
They've probably had that conversation with right there on the dock more often.
With a
That
driver.
I'm definitely going to take this from that conversation and make sure we have some training here and people really understand. There's just no point in setting unrealistic expectations
Exactly.
for
And
anything.
it totally. I mean, if I could, and this is where I guess my passion has gotten me, is I want somehow, and I'm not really sure how to go about it. I mean, I've been out here, I'm getting ready to turn 61, and I know I still have so much more in me to give. It might not be in a truck beating my body up any longer or whatever, but I have so much to give on a positive side that it's like I just want to walk in the door at logistics companies and go, okay, bring me half of your brokers and your agents that are sitting there, and let's like have a constructive reason of, okay, Ingrid, why did you tell me you weren't going to load a load of berries or grapes at 50 degrees? Your reefer is going to cool it if you're pre-cooled. No, let me explain. My reefer maintains. It doesn't cool. You
Yeah.
got to understand. So when I tell you I'm not loading it, then this is why. This is why I'm grumpy when you call and wake me up. This is things that we can work together, and let's educate each other. And these are conversations that aren't being had
Uh-huh.
because they don't know what to expect from us as a driver. They only know the horror stories, and
Mhm.
they aren't really hearing a lot of the good stories other than, oh, driver's there, load's good, it's signed good bills, have a great day.
Yep.
There's so much more. And it's something that we can share to make this a better arrangement for everybody, even the shipper and receiver.
Yeah, I agree. And um yes, because the devil's in the details in this industry, and there's so many details to manage. So when you start this consulting effort, call me.
Oh,
You come on in and
I
train.
hadn't thought about that.
Come on in and train my people up, because the more familiar that they could be. I mean, okay, so we're a broker. We have two sales to make, right? We're going to sell to the customer, and then we're going to sell the loads to the carrier. Well,
Yes.
when you can, the number one rule in sales is like identify with their pain, know what their struggle is. And so certainly brokers, we try to know what the shipper's struggles are. And but since we have two sales to make, can we leverage that same, find the pain approach with the carriers? And be a better broker to them if we can identify the pain points and work on them.
And the ones that can find those pain points with their shippers and your receivers are your drivers, because they're the ones that are boots on the ground
Yes.
as well as they're with the carrier. They are the carrier. So they're literally answering if you and it's hard sometimes because there's different I guess different diversified areas of drivers.
Hmm.
Every single driver is amazing. I mean, amazing, and I'm so grateful for driver appreciation because every one of 4.7, I wish I could reach out and hug, because it's just amazing. Um, but every single one has a story and a niche. And in that niche, some just choose to drive. They don't want to deal with brokers, they don't want to deal with shippers. It's like you take care of everything in the back office.
Yep.
And then you have those that are like me and some wonderful, and you probably follow Dan, the
Mhm.
driver row. Dan's the same exact example of that we choose, and you'll see Dan go into produce sheds just like I have. I was on the cover of USA Today in 2019, and
Mhm.
they did a video, and it's on USA Today still. But I got to take the senior videographer from Los Angeles in the truck with me, took her to Yuma, and we literally took them in the warehouse and saw not just the packing and all of this of broccoli crowns and all that, but saw the transition between the shipper to the driver and then from the driver on down to get on the road. And so many people didn't realize our connection of what we have with that shipper, but she also witnessed what I had with the broker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we're the middleman and we can help both sides.
Yes. Yeah.
It's that bridge. It's that
Yep.
bridge. And if we want to make it better, we got to utilize the tools that we have. And
Yep.
there's many drivers out here that are amazing that can do that.
Yep.
You,
And have some of these conversations. And I don't know if you listen to Kevin Rutherford on Road Dog, but that show, the Broker Connect, I went on
yes,
and they said we never get calls on this show because drivers, they just want to talk about you. They don't want to talk to you. And
exactly.
lucky for Kevin, Tony from Florida decided to call and really give me a piece of his mind. And then lucky for me, about 20 drivers called and sat on hold for over an hour. They asked me if I would stay on another hour or two because these drivers wanted to, as you're saying, we need to work together. We've all got work out here to do together. We can't do it without them. They can't do it without us. We've got to find ways to bridge this gap. And so thank goodness there was only one hate call, you might call it. But so many drivers then who weren't compelled to call in called and waited on hold for an hour to apologize for Tony. Like, no,
Right.
it's not the mentality of the entire driver population. We need to be friends with you brokers. We need to figure this out together. We need to get together and close these gaps. And I couldn't agree more.
You know, so many of them don't remember when we didn't have a cell phone. So many don't remember when we stood in lines to even use payphones and call collect to the carriers. Or for me, it was to try to find loads or whatever. And it's amazing how technology has come, but it's amazing how brokerages and brokers and agents literally support us. You are our support staff.
Yeah.
And you are, I used to say, I loved my directs. I loved going to my directs.
Yeah.
That was just my one shot, but it was because I didn't have the time. And then when time got even worse, and I could come to y'all, that's when I realized how essential you were to me and to us as drivers. And with that being said, driver appreciation to me isn't just about us sitting in the seat. It's not about us that aren't home and all the things we know of drivers that sacrifice their time and family and the things that makes my heart just want to, I'm going to end up tearing up on you, but it's amazing, but it's not just that. We're all a family of being with you, the broker, with the shipper, with the carrier. And if I don't appreciate you, you can't appreciate me. If I don't respect you, you're not going to respect me. So it goes in a full circle where it's a whole. And you acknowledging us, and especially us ladies, because we were way below 1% when I started out here. I could promise you that.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to be out here, it wasn't a thing that I walked out and said, okay, I'm a woman and you will respect me. No, I had to earn my respect, but it wasn't hard. All I did was I minded my business, did my job, and respected them and acted like a lady. And, that's what life is supposed to be about.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate each other as drivers, as well as you and the country and everybody appreciates us as drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Because without my fellow drivers, I couldn't do this. There's no way.
Yeah.
I, I break down on the side of the road sorry, it's not a broker that comes and saves me. It's
Yeah.
usually 99% of the time I'm on the phone with a friend of mine that's a driver,
Yeah.
So we are our own little family of taking care of each other, yes, but still, it's just an amazing thing. I mean, if people look at the full circle of all this and understand and really grow that passion, and I always say, I don't have to truck.
Mhm.
And that's not saying that I don't need a job. I can find a job.
Mhm.
I don't have to truck. I do it because I love to truck.
Mhm.
And it's because of the people in the industry is why.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm rambling, aren't I?
No, no. Actually, we're almost out of time, and I'm super disappointed because I have like 10 questions for you. So, if you would come back sometime and do this again, I know I could go on for hours with you. And I know just our listeners being primarily in logistics, like these are important conversations. And I'd love to do a whole episode with you on bridging that gap between carriers and brokers. I'd love to do a whole one with you on recruiting women into driving
Yes.
and how to do that and then keeping our women professional drivers safe on the roads. And I mean, I'm on this other screen. I'm looking at my list and I'm looking at the clock also, like, darn it, I didn't get to any of this. So I would really, really love for you to come back again because we are kind of running out of time here if you'd be willing to.
I would be more than willing. All you got to do is just let me know. I mean, we can do this, anytime. I absolutely.
Yeah, I seriously, I have so much more over here. So we are going to have to do it again so I can get to some more of it. Real quick, I have one more question, and it's random, and it's from my 7-year-old daughter. And she has made me promise to, and it has to be on my podcast. She has made me to, on my podcast, talk to a truck driver and ask them what truck stop in the country has the best donuts. She heard Iowa 80 and she's trying to figure it out and get to the bottom of it.
I could say the Ingrid Brown Petro in Oklahoma City, but we don't have donuts, baby girl. We don't have donuts. So I'm going to go with her. I'm going to tell you, Iowa 80 and Walcott is amazing. And yes, they have the best donuts. I'm telling you,
Okay.
hands down.
All
There
right.
you go.
I promised I would ask, and I am not kidding you. She is going to ask me the second I walk into the door today. So I will tell her I got to the bottom of that. But again, I didn't get to the bottom of this rest of this stuff. So I am going to need to have you back and do a few more of these because the time just went too fast.
I'm
So,
just so honored. Thank you very much for doing what you do for us as drivers because you know what? We can't do it with everybody else, but I love my coworkers and gosh, I love a truck driver.
yep. Well, this was great. So, to the listeners, if you heard Ingrid, find your favorite truck drivers. Everyone this week, identify 20 and give them a personal, a virtual high five and thank you, a personal, hug and thank you if you can. But let's take this advice, let's bridge this gap, and let's really make sure that this week and every week they feel heard and appreciated. So, again, thank you so much, Ingrid, for being here today. And we will see y'all soon.